Everyone has something to share, in either wisdom, story, or logic, and it's clearly amazing to hear all the differing missing links discovered by people unique to their own journeys, and in how they have come to discover them. Together, we can help to build a bigger picture for a better future, for a brighter tomorrow. Let's stand united. Let's remove the veils, and let's create a new world together. Are you that missing link? Join Jesse Hale on the Missing Link Talk Show as he helps to unveil the mystery through the unique wisdom and story of others. Only on Real Revolution Radio X.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Missing Link. Here it's love-inspiring new knowledge. We're looking for any missing links that we may be able to find in the world around us. So here we have today Ellen Red, who is a Akashic coach, spiritual healer. She's very, very well versed in the spiritual realm. So how are you today, Ellen?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good, a little bit tired. A lot's been happening. The energies have been bouncing off the walls. Human resonance frequencies have been high. I'm just trying to manage through all of this the best that I can. So how's it going for you?
It's going about the same. Lots of energies moving around right now. So I'm feeling the same kind of chaotic stuff this week. It seems like it's been interesting, but it's some good moves for the light. Some good stuff been happening.
Why don't you tell us about you? Tell us a little bit about, your history, where you grew up, just so people that don't know you or people that do know you just maybe don't know some things about you that you might be able to share with us, just so people can get familiar with who you are as a person.
Okay. I grew up in Utah. I had a near-death experience at age 4, died and went to the other side. And then that kind of led me on my path of spirituality. I became really highly psychic after that. So I was a kid that used to see spirits all the time and went through a lot of hardship trying to learn how to integrate that. And over the years, I went through all kinds of other things, including having a full-blown Kundalini awakening and activation. I went through a twin flame activation. I had my etheric light body activated and met my twin flame in another dimension, if you will, and then went through the whole Hyros Gamos and alchemical marriage over the last 11 years. And so I was eventually guided by spirit to do this work and to help, assist humanity during this great awakening and to activate others. So I do DNA activations, light body activations, and those kinds of things for the collective.
That's amazing. So you said you learned this at an early age. What are some kind of things that you've done to develop your own personal skills and, to be able to connect with source and learn some of these things for yourself?
Yeah, well, as I said, I was first activated at 4, or at least I went to the other side. And then after that, I spent a lot of years as a kid just not really understanding things, but I learned how to interpret my dreams. And so at a really young age, I was able to interpret the dreams and learn how to understand what they were trying to show me in the spirit world from the dream state and how it was going to play out in my physical world. And so it kind of taught me how to do the translation between the spirit world and the human world, because obviously the spirit world works very differently than we do here as humans. So that was something that I learned how to develop early on. And the same thing with spirits. I used to be terrified of them, so I would hide from them. I didn't like that I was sensing and feeling all that stuff, and so I would hide from it. For a lot of years, I was in denial about what I was perceiving. And then eventually I began to learn to just embrace it. And it was in embracing it and the surrendering to it that I was able to then gain, higher understanding and a deeper awareness of why the spirits were coming to me. And then also I learned over time to develop telepathy, especially with my twin flame. Once he and I became activated, we developed a telepathic connection. So our communication was mostly telepathic for 11 years, where we spent every day talking all day long, like me and you are talking right now. So
Wow, that's
it was
pretty
pretty
amazing.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
I had a near-death experience as well, maybe about 20 years ago. I fought a bunch of gangsters that were trying to turn out a girl, and I got stabbed, 12 times, and
Oh,
one
wow.
punctured my lung. And, I actually, saw my lifeless body on the operating table in the hospital as I floated away. So, could you tell us maybe a little bit about your, experience at four?
Well, at 4, I drowned in a swimming pool, and I went through the tunnel of light that a lot of people talk about, and I was kind of fighting with the divine. I didn't understand why I was being taken back. I was like, I just got here. What do you mean I'm going back? I was ticked off. But I got to the other side, and I saw angels, and I saw the Christ energy, and all that. I was embraced by lots of loving beings, and I just had this understanding and awareness that I would have, that it wasn't my time and I was going to come back. But I was also shown a lot of things. I saw yin and yang, and I had this understanding of the perfect balance of the masculine and feminine. And I had awareness of reincarnation cycles. And of course, my family was religious and didn't believe in that stuff. So I came back at 4 trying to tell them, and they were like, we don't do that here. So I was like torn. But it took a while for me to really work through that. And of course, later I've had other out of body and near death experiences too, several of them. So I've gone through all kinds of different experiences in my journey that's caused me to kind of learn through trans meditative states to come in and out of body and astral project. So I spent a lot of years, really honing in on that skill as well.
So being in that type of family and, you seeing and feeling these spirits because, mostly they say those are demons or, they're saying you can't, those aren't good spirits. And I've heard this from a lot of people. I haven't personally been in a, religious family, but, they kind of, we've been taught to be afraid of, the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And, how did that kind of work with you kind of understanding and then being with a family that kind of was kind of afraid of those things?
Well, I was lucky in that even though my dad didn't believe in reincarnation, he did believe in angels and dark energies. And so then there's both on the other side. There's positive and negative in the astral as well. Not in the higher dimensions, but in the astral, which is a higher dimension than the third. So there are positive and negative. And I was blessed that at least my dad understood that, but he never talked to me about it. It was more me that was going through it. He also understood the power of prophetic dreams because he had a grandmother who was had prophetic dreams also, and so he was supportive of me in that. But it was really because of that religious background. There just wasn't a lot of talk about this from a mediumship perspective. It was more, go to church and pray to the God that we believe in, and heaven forbid that your insight might be different than what we talk about at church. And so that did make it really difficult, and it made it challenging for me to understand what I knew and to really embrace what I knew. So it took decades to work through that until I had so many profound experiences that there was no way to deny anymore what I knew on a soul level. And so now I fully embrace it. It was the full-blown awakening 11 years ago that really, there was no way for me to deny what that was. I came out of body and had my whole light body activated and had full remembrance of my eternal self and my multidimensional self. So there was no way to deny it anymore. I didn't care what anybody in the human world thinks.
Was there a time where, you maybe thought that something was wrong with you or maybe that you were a little crazy, like during this time trying to figure this all out?
Oh, totally. I really went through a lot of that, especially because in 2011, I had the full-blown activation, but in 2008, I had a third eye opening. And in 2008, there was nothing on the internet about third eyes. There was nothing on the internet about third eyes back then, at least that I know of. In fact, I think that was maybe the year that Facebook came out. There was no information about third eyes. So when it happened to me, I really did think that I lost my mind. I was scared of it. And my daughter thought I lost my mind because I was talking about light and love and all these things. She's like, you need to go to your room. People are going to think you're crazy. So I went in my room for 2 weeks and just wrote everything that I was perceiving because I was like, I'm whacked out of my mind, but I like it. It was such a beautiful world. I was so aware of love and this all embracing love, that God is. And so, yes, I thought I was insane for 4 years. And I went through a lot of, just trying to understand the world I lived in. And I started to research a little bit of stuff. I found that there was actual evidence that Christ talked about the third eye in the Bible. And I really started to, over those 4 years, more and more was happening. Click, click, click. The divine synchronicities were happening for me. And the universe was bringing me into full alignment and leading me even into the twin flame journey with the wrong twin. But it was because I was getting the activations, right? And so I was going through that whole thing. And yeah, of course, you think you're crazy most of the time because I'm talking telepathically to a ghost that nobody knows except me. And I know he's real because I just know what I know, and I couldn't tell anybody about twin flames for a lot of years. You could see people talking about it online, but a lot of them are seeing it from a third dimensional perspective. And again, early on, there wasn't a lot of information about that either. So yeah, you think you're crazy. And really that's kind of a shamanic understanding is that as you're becoming a shaman, which is what happens when you're becoming an enlightened soul, right? That shamanic journey leads you through madness. You have to go through madness to get to enlightenment, if you will. Because, right?
Yeah. So what is the twin flame?
Well, the twin flames are a collective of souls that are one soul in two different bodies. And this is kind of goes back to the story of Zeus, where they were split early on in the early incarnation of humanity. And so the Lemurian days, if you will, and they were split apart from each other and have spent eons looking for each other. So it's kind of like this longingness. You'll get in a relationship and you just don't feel something's not right. And you get in the next one. Okay, this is the one. And it's just not right. And eventually, you really find that you're looking for this part of yourself. And that's really what the twin flame is. And my twin flame is a human being. His name is Brett. He lives, in California. He's a real guy, but we share a soul. That's the alchemical marriage of the masculine and the feminine. So he and I are one. We're one soul. And so that's really what it is. And that goes back into biblical teachings too, and the promises of God for those that are living righteously. So, and it's talked about, if you open the Bible, and I know we're not Bible, we're none of us, I don't think on your show are probably religious much, but we understand spirituality and that there's truth in all things, right? And so you have to decode the truth in everything that you do, whether it be a newspaper or a Bible or a book at school or, politics or anything. You have to decode it, right? And you have to find what works for you. But in the first page of the Bible, it says that you're made male and female unto the lights of God. It's right there. And of course, Elohim, if you decode that word, it means masculine and feminine as one God, right? God is the love between the masculine and the feminine, or the energy, the third energy that's in between the masculine and feminine. So that's what a twin flame is, basically, is your true blueprint of your soul.
That's beautiful. We've got a question here. She says, what color eyes do you have? And she says she noticed your left one is changing.
My left eye, my eyes are blue.
Okay, and she says Ellen's eyes have a constellation in them.
I have all the constellations written in my soul, just like you do.
That's awesome. So what kind of stuff do you what kind of work do you like to do? What do you teach people? How do you get people connected, with, the energy that's around them?
Well, I do a lot of different things. I have several large groups and pages. I do twin flame guidance, alchemical marriages. I am a medium, so I channel spirits. I do Akashic record readings, and I specifically also work with starseed readings and helping. I've gotten a lot of guidance from galactives to help people connect to their starseed origins, because that has a lot to do with why they're on the earth plane right now. So I do starseed readings, and yeah, pretty much anything spiritual that has to do with weird, funky stuff.
My girlfriend Angeline had gone through a lot of abuse in her life, right from a very, very early age. So,
Mhm.
one thing that she did in order to protect herself was to check out of her body and then be more into the spiritual world. And that's how she was able to see these things that most other people aren't able to see.
Yeah,
So she's, seeing in the fairy realm and seeing different things. So she can actually see what most others can't. And,
yeah.
for a long time, and that's kind of what you're talking about once you were able to see that. So could you maybe talk a little bit about, kind of what you see on the other side and how you connect with it and, the messages that they give you?
Yeah, I will. I just want to real quick add that what you're saying about your girlfriend is really common for people who have had trauma and especially gone through mind control programs, which I too was part of the Monarch and MK Ultra. So I did also learn to check out of my body as well throughout my childhood. So that's really common. But what do I see on the other side? Well, a lot of things that humans in this reality don't see, including masses of different types of entities or beings. And they're not necessarily just physical or angelic, and they're not all draconians. Oh, look, I got a cat back here, so I'm just showing up. And there's always good to have a black cat around, right? So, but yeah, so I see a lot of energies and entities. I've also been shown, I deal a lot with soul babies. That was a post I wrote about today, where when I do readings for people, spirits come through and I can see that there's unhealed wounds, including babies that maybe were aborted or miscarried that are still caught in the in between. And so really there's a, in the fourth dimension, there is the astral realms or the terrestrial kingdom, where a lot of energies are that are not necessarily benevolent. And that's where our reincarnation cycles are coming in through, is that you get into that fourth dimension. And if you're not Christically ascended, you're going to get cycled back into, a reincarnation cycle. And that's happening, unfortunately, with most of humanity for eons. And because of this matrix system that's creating the souls to get trapped, they don't know how to get out, and they think, they're being told, if you go to this church and you do this and you do that you're going to be fine, but it's really not in alignment with source truth. And so little distortions like that can cause a soul trap. It's like a fly getting caught in the spider web. And then the soul has to come back, and so there's a lot there. There are other energies. There are ET technologies that are being used there. There's a lot of entities there that again are not necessarily benevolent, all of them. And so if you don't get yourself in alignment christically, you can't get past that barrier. It's designed that way on purpose to harvest the energy of the souls.
So now are we kind of in the end game here? Like what's kind of do you see and feel that's happening? Because, things are kind of insane right now, and the energies are kind of proving what's kind of going on, but people are really awakening, but there's
Yeah.
also a really darker side of, things that are happening right now as well.
Yeah, there's still a lot of work to do. We're in the end game, if you will, in the sense that we're in the beginning of the end, meaning that the souls are beginning to awaken, which is huge. That's a very, very good thing. And of course, we have a lot of work to do. With that said, a lot, because you can see even in these communities, there's a lot of distortions still. And those distortions, again, are what traps the soul from being able to travel from one dimension to another. And so there are a lot of, work that we need to do. And it's an individual thing too. So it's kind of like a little bit messy, right? We're all doing this dance together, but every soul has to be able to figure out how to get through ascension on their own. What was the other question?
What was the other question? I'm not sure. Just what do you see on the other side, and then what are things happening right now? Do you see us all ascending? Do you see people descending? Is there the big split? And what do you feel is happening?
Well, I did see the big split in my awakening. And so I was shown that was a reality in our timelines, if you will, or in the quantum realms. I've also heard some say that timeline has been passed, and I haven't gotten personal guidance that that's the case. I definitely can see that a lot of humanity is awakening. So we've already reached a mass, what do you call it? I forgot what it's called, but anyway, critical mass, where enough people are awakened now that we are able to start making a movement in that direction collectively, because that's really been our challenge before in thousands and thousands of years, is that handful of souls will awaken and help shed light on the earth. But to get the collective to move in a direction together, we all kind of have to be on the same, wavelength. And we're getting to that point with critical mass, which is really profound. And that's also affecting the earth itself and causing that shifting of the earth to also ascend. But we still have a way to go. And every soul, again, has to be accountable for their own actions and deeds. And so if you're ascending and you're going in that direction and 10 of them over here aren't, all you can do is try to help them. I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't know that any of us really do. I know that at the end, in the very, very, very end, we all return to source, but some are not going to return maybe in the same way that you and I do if they're not choosing love, right? Because it's a choice.
Now, what about this satanic system, that this matrix, this thing that's kind of pulling people apart? Are they holding them down and they're not going to be able to ascend? Maybe possibly getting these injections, possibly things that are, stopping people from having their true connection to source.
Well, they're definitely going full force to try to assault you from every angle that you can be assaulted from, whether it be through the injections or through chemtrails or your food or, starvation or whatever they're going to do. They're definitely full force trying to assault the collective to prevent you from realigning with your soul. But if you realign with your soul, even if you got an injection, your soul still has the power to overcome and supersede anything that happens in the physical world. You shouldn't be, I'm not saying that to encourage people to go out and do it. I'm just saying that if you do, and if it happened, you still align with your soul. You make that your number one priority, and, pray and meditate and really connect with your higher self. And definitely, if you can avoid it, don't keep taking the boosters, because those are going to make it, more challenging physically for you. When we harm our physical vessels in any way, it makes it a little more challenging for us to align with our soul, because you're dealing with all these physical problems. It's like your girlfriend right now, right? She doesn't feel as good as she would when she's perfectly healthy. And the issues that are coming up from that injection are causing health issues that kind of pull you away from alignment with source, because health and well-being are aspects and attributes to alignment. And when we do things that are out of alignment, we become unhealthy in some way, right? Well, it's kind of out of alignment to go and do something because you're being forced into it. Force isn't in alignment with source. It's out of alignment. And so it's a moral conflict in a lot of ways. And that's unfortunate. This is why it's such an issue to push it on everybody, because if they don't want it, they are free will souls who is one to tell another what to do with their body. It's unacceptable in the higher realms.
Yeah, completely. So These dark entities and dark energies, have they left this plane or this, dimension? Because some people say that they have gone and that's just the last remnants of their soldiers that are just kind of, dying off. Or is this still a battle that everybody's still, facing right now? Because, is there light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, I don't know where they're getting that information from. It is definitely not in my consciousness that they've left. If anything, it's in my consciousness that they're desperately grappling on to whatever last bit of power they can have here. And it still is a fight. And if we don't get in the game and do our part, then we're kind of, that we call that bypassing, spiritual bypassing and disassociation. When you're not right here in the now moment, seeing what's going on right now and facing it and doing your part, you're kind of in la la land. And when you're in la la land, you're not grounded. We like to be grounded too. We like la la land, but we like to be grounded too. And you got to have a balance, right? And so I don't know that I would agree that they're gone. Do you think they're gone?
No,
Yeah, I don't either.
but it's just, a lot of what, we talk to a lot of different people and everybody's got their
Yeah,
different interpretations.
yeah.
And, I like when people say things like that because it kind of can give, some hope when things seem to be a little bit dark. And, I like the
Mm-hmm.
positive, the optimism and things like that. But, you're right. We have to deal with the here and the now, and we have to stop them from harming the children and injecting the children and, taking their, I call it demon juice, and trying to, make everybody take it. And
Yeah,
so we need to stop what's going on. And,
yeah.
until we do, we're not really doing anything here.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't say that to put anybody down or anything else, but I know for myself that alignment for me means that you're also in your sovereignty and you are self-actualized. And self-actualized means that you are fully, your whole soul is fully present within yourself, wherever you are in the now moment, right? You're in this now moment and you're fully there, and you're fully aware in your consciousness of who you are and what you're here to do. So for me, I am fully present and fully aware that I came to this planet consciously choosing to come here to assist in this timeline that we're in right now. And I really feel that it's important that everybody finds some way to be active, however you need to be, to help with what it is that we're doing. Because as critical mass is happening and people are awakening, the more of us that are awakening, that's where our power is. So the more of us that can pull together and push things in that direction, the better off that we're going to be. Can tarot invite demons? Anything can invite demons if it has the wrong intention, is John's question.
Yeah, that's what his question was. So, what do you do to keep yourself, in a protected state? Are you, just because of your divine connection, you feel like you're always protected, or, do you do certain things to help keep yourself grounded and protected, during these kind of crazy times?
Well, a little bit of both. I was definitely shown in that union that we went through. And again, we went through 11 years of working with God to integrate our soul together. And we were shown that we were protected by the divine. But I also have to do energy work every single day. There's negative entities and beings that like to spew a lot of negative things that can project, bad energy or spells, if you will, onto people. And for those of us that are stepping out in the public and doing this work, I had to get groomed by the spirit for a long time in order to do this, because you wouldn't believe it by talking to me, but I was a very, very shy person. And I had a nice career in real estate. I had a very nice income. And so I gave all of that up to serve the source. And it was really challenging to dare to put myself out here and thank you, Jay. But to put myself out here in front of the public, it was very intimidating for me to come out and say, leave the corporate world with all my realtor friends that are making big bucks, and here I am. I talk to ghosts, guys. It was very intimidating for me. And so, but I got groomed for a long time, and being in the public, as you know, Jesse, because you are too, you deal with a lot of psychic attack, right? You deal with a lot of it. It's very, very draining, and it takes a lot of work, to energy work, to not carry that with you, not absorb it within your own being. So although I have that divine protection of the twin flame and of God's source and that Trinity, I still also have to do daily work energetically so that I don't absorb it or take it into my own being. So it's a little bit of both. And I do daily grounding. The first thing I do in the morning is ground. I do daily protection spells. I do daily energy work and daily clearings. So it's a lot of work just energetically to keep my vessel clear of any form of attachment or any dust bunnies, I call them, you know.
So do you come across a lot of people that, think that they're righteous, but they actually have a lot of negative or, demonic energy that's inside of them?
More than I would ever like to acknowledge, yes. It's
And
unfortunate because the journey of healing can be so extensive. We're all on the path to ascension, right? And all of us have these clearings that we need to do, and those attachments try to get you from every angle. And so you might, and oftentimes the way that they work is they blind you from seeing that you even have them, right? Because they blind you, and so people are blinded to their own wickedness, and that's the tragedy. Is it takes a lot of energy healing, a lot of shadow healing, and that's part of what the divine twin flames are. They cause a mirror to happen within the self in order to cause the self to become purified. They go through a purification process, and it's gruesome. If anybody tells you that it's fun, they're lying. It's a gruesome process, in the sense that, you really have to face your own crap. And that is the key to ascension, is to peeling away those false programs that we have all gotten conditioned into by false programs in our world, in our society, and it's everywhere. So I understand why people are that way, but yeah, they don't realize that they are oftentimes, and it makes it makes our work cut out for us quite a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, because, there's a lot of people that are judgmental, and nobody has a right to judge anyone else. That's source, and that's God's, the job, and not, us humans just trying to figure this out here. And I see that a lot, because, people are so self-righteous that they think that they know more than anyone else, when everybody's just trying to figure out this experience the best that we can.
Well, and I agree to that, but then I'll also like to add that when the source, it gives you the mark, if you will, or marks you, or codes you with divine wisdom, you would be a fool to deny that, wouldn't you? You learn a soul lesson, and it becomes you are so well aware of what that soul lesson is. Now you go and try to help somebody else, to help them understand that, wait a minute, that was actually a false program. That was one of the Luciferian programs, and you're trying to help them see that, and they're calling you judgmental because they think you're judging them, when you're really just trying to help them get back into alignment. That it's a fine balance there. And so I've seen it from both angles, where there are those judgmental ones, and then I also see the other side, where there's people saying you're judgmental when you're trying to help them. So you got to be balanced.
How does Christ play a part in your life?
Well, Christ, I'm Christ conscious, if you will, meaning that I had to surrender myself to the light of Christ, if you will, not in a religious perspective, but in surrendering to God, I guess, if you will, I became Christ conscious. So everything I do is in the light of Christ, or love.
Yeah, that's
Me, that's how
beautiful.
I see it.
Now, what place do you live in? Are you still in Utah?
No, I live in Las Vegas.
Oh, in Las Vegas. So how are things? How are things there? Where, with what's going on right now? With being in the States, how are things transpiring in your own personal life?
Well, because I've been on this ascension path for so long, I don't really go out and play in the matrix too often in terms of going into the 3D world unless I have to. So I don't get affected too much by that. But as far as the city itself and what's happening here, we have our governor. Well, we had legislation passed to try to silence the free will or freedom of speech. We were the first county in the country that had people honestly have the audacity to try to pass legislation to silence the people and their right to free speech. And it's on the table right now. So it's really, really critical that people get involved in preventing that from happening. Then you probably also saw a few weeks ago, the school district got delivered a $200 million lawsuit. Clark County School District got, a friend of mine, a guy here in Las Vegas, filed a $200 million lawsuit against the Clark County School District for these unethical, unacceptable mandates on the children. And that went to court. Then, as a collective, two other beings here filed a lawsuit against the mayor that went to Supreme Court, and a bunch of other of us joined it. So we're trying to get as many people as possible in Clark County to do that, and hopefully get others around the world to do that, because the more these guys get lawsuits filed against them with their personal names involved, and they're everybody involved, and they're included in these lawsuits, once enough people file them, they cannot escape that they just are not going to be able to escape it. What are you going to do? Now we're civilly suing you for what you have in your home, and we're civilly suing you, and we're criminally suing you, and we're suing you for this, and we're suing, and this one's suing you, and pretty soon you got 500,000 lawsuits against you. You're buried. They're not going to win this if enough people stand up, right? So that's a big deal here. And then tomorrow is November 5th, V for Vendetta, right? So we have a November 5 rally tomorrow that's going to be up on the strip for the people here that don't agree with the mask mandate to step up and participate. And it will be the third one that was here. The last one was a few weeks ago, and there was over 10,000 people on the strip. So it was huge. And so as far as the climate goes here, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of people that are ticked off and want to do the right thing for the collective.
So you see momentum building on, the side of, freedom?
I do. I still see a lot of people that are afraid. And I still see, just unfortunately, way too many people that are afraid, and also that are too quick to just give up themselves to what their government tells them to do. And so they're rushing to get the jab because they're afraid. They're living in fear. And fear, by the way, is Antichrist energy. It's against God, because you were taught to have faith. And so, they use that fear all the time to have power over the humans. And but I do see momentum growing in terms of those that are becoming brave and that are speaking out and that are willing to give up their jobs and willing to give up whatever they have to give up for the collective. And that's really what it's going to take. A lot of us, like myself, already gave everything up for the cause many years ago. And now today, there are many people that are being called to do the same thing. It doesn't mean that you're not meant to have nice things or a home or those kinds of things, but it means that first and foremost, you have to get your energy right, and you have to decide what it is that you're standing for.
What happened? You said the $200 million suit, did go to court? Did anything
It's in court now. It's going to court now. Yeah.
So it's currently in trial?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. And you every single person around this world needs to do the same thing, because everything that they're doing is completely unethical. It is completely contrary to God's laws. And at the end of the day, the laws really are about God's laws. If you're in any way out of alignment with God's laws, even if your human world told you to be, you're going to be accountable for that. You have to be accountable for your own energy. Are you selling your soul or not? I hate to say it, but it's really that cut and dry. So, and I know that that's not easy for everybody, because there's, everybody's got kids to feed, and they're in different countries. So there's lots of different dynamics that not everybody has the same kind of freedoms that we have in the United States, where I'm from. But, wherever you are, you got to do the best you can with what you got. And you'll know what to do for yourself and how to help.
What's your thoughts on virtual reality?
In terms of AI, or what do you mean?
We just had a question here from Jay, and she just said, Ellen's thoughts on the new VR. I think that's virtual reality.
I'm not sure if I understand what that question, what they're asking of me. Like,
Yeah.
are they asking me what I think about our connecting here in this world instead of in the physical world? Is that what the question is?
That's a good one, like, because there's a lot of people that are actually stepping out of the physical and into this new virtual world. They're calling the Metaverse, or the, stuff that they're trying to do. They're trying to transhumanize people, get them out of and connecting them to the robot, the computer world, and
Okay.
taking us away from our true self.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I was perceiving that question. So if that's what they're asking, then I would say that my guidance this year, I had spirit guides very clearly tell me that we need to, one, connect in all the different platforms, so we're not, losing track of each other, because we built a light grid to connect one another over the last 10 years, and we've done a great job of that. But then specifically to get on the ground and connect on the ground into your local communities, to find ways to connect with people locally so that you have resources, where to go, who's got, protection, who knows how to defend the community, where the food is. I've gotten very strong guidance that everybody needs to do that. And I even started a group to draw people together for that, called the Grid Workers. So it's important that we do that, and that we don't put all of our energy into the virtual reality or the online, communications. It's good that we have it. It's a tool that can be used, but just like anything else, it can become an addiction, and you can and will lose your soul if you're all day long on the internet. If that's what their question is, that's my feedback for that you need to get on the ground. You need to put your hands in the dirt and your feet in the dirt and go out for walks in nature and find your neighbors. You know how many people, especially in Las Vegas, because Las Vegas is such a hard town in so many ways. There's so many people living in houses all by themselves with no real support system here. There's elderlies that there's nobody that they can go to. There's so much need for us to get back into the root of who we are and help our village. I hope that answers the question. I hope that was the question they were asking.
Yeah, no, that was good. So what's like Vegas like, compared to 2 years ago? Like, is it still alive and kicking? Is everybody walking around with masks on and, like zombified? What's the difference from now to, a couple years ago? I know you said you don't go out a lot, but when you do go out, what do you notice as a big difference? Because Vegas has always been kind of like the party, capital of North America, kind of, and, fun, bustling place, but things have changed everywhere right now.
Yeah. Well, Vegas went through a really hard crash during 2008, during the housing crises. And so I think that the locals here were very conditioned already on how to deal with the crises. In that regard, we went through hard times for a few years out here. And I mean, very hard times where it was quite critical. So we were a little bit prepped for that in some regards, but obviously this was very damning to our community, because most of the jobs in Las Vegas come from the casinos. The casinos own and run everything, and they've prevented other businesses from coming into town. And so if you don't work for a casino, you're either self-employed or you work for them. There really isn't a lot of other options. And that was difficult, because that means that most people were either put out of jobs or forced into the job or went on unemployment or whatever else. And so that did absolutely play a role here. And of course, you've got the ones that conformed and did what they were told to do. And upon doing so, the casinos began to start to open again. And so there's some jobs there, and there's people working those jobs. But it certainly had a big impact there. And then, of course, the housing market. The housing market's a big deal for Vegas because, you know, a lot of people like to buy houses here as second homes and that kind of a thing. And so there's a huge industry of realtors and lenders and those kind of people here. And that also got hit under these circumstances because, as you know, they're also targeting our financial capacity to survive, right? And so now you've got the CCP. You got people coming in and buying homes out here that are already way overinflated, and they're paying over $40,000 over list price for them in an overinflated market when they should be underground right now, right? These houses should be in the dumps because the way the housing market works is when jobs go, houses drop in value. That's normal. When you see it going the other direction, somebody's doing some shady stuff. And so that's happening here. And that's a pretty big issue. And also there's big players like Zillow and Open Door that are affecting that market as well. And really it's putting out those people out of their jobs. So they're losing a big portion of their income, and they're part of the community here too. So there's a lot going on here that's pretty, I mean, we're fighting it like everybody else, right?
What is Zillow and Open Door? I've never heard of them.
Well, they're like the Amazon of real estate. They're Amazon. They came in and took over all of the business and are putting out all the little everyday Joes under the guise of giving the client a better rate, but it really hasn't turned out that way for the clients. And yet the people like to get online and press a button and go to Open Door instead of meeting your realtor and having a direct connection with a person that you can shake hands with. So again, that goes back to the other person's question, right? With virtual reality and how it's distorting the human world, because you got these big companies that are taking over and they're putting all the little people out of business. And we cannot agree to do that, because if we do, and that's the way that we all live, we're in the matrix, and we're not ever going to get out if we go that direction and don't fight against it.
So, is it busy again? Is it like, whenever I've been there, it's always been super, super busy. But, with, everything that's gone on, is it half capacity? Is it just starting to pick up? Is it, or is it,
it's starting to pick up now. Yeah. Last year it was very, very slow. It was terrible. And now it's starting to pick up, and I don't know if I'm pretty sure it's at half capacity or more. So I thought I read something the other day that it was actually even higher than that, but I can't confirm that. But it is kind of getting busy again in terms of having concerts. There's concerts and there's events and things that are going on. But of course, a lot of those are going to require the mask.
Mask or the jab, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you gone out to any of these places and seen what it's like, or is it they're requiring these things, like they say, like we're in Canada, and they say that they're asking now for these proof of injection in order to go eat at a restaurant or go to use some of these places. Have you guys
I haven't seen anybody be real anal about that. I have gone to the M Resort, and they have a mask Nazi at the door, if you will, that's insisting that you put your mask on. And so there are people like that here. There are some of those matrix bots here, but for the most part, I think the general consensus, or at least more than 50%, they're not having it. They're really not buying it. And so I've gone to grocery stores, and sometimes I'll go in and lots of people don't have a mask on. And other times I'll go in and everybody but me has one on. So it's kind of hard to say or gauge at this point. But I know that from the personal relationships that I have with people here, all of them are quite aware of how ludicrous this is. And like I said, we have a huge community here of beings that are in that freedom for choice group. And those are the ones that are going, there's 46,000 of them just in that group alone. And those are the ones that are involved in the lawsuits. And, unfortunately, we really need to fight back against this, because this is our time. If we miss the boat on this timeline, it will only get worse. It's not going to get better. We really need to get up and duke it out, because if we don't, You get a bully and they bully you long enough, you keep letting it go, they're just going to get worse and worse and worse. And they're going to bully you until you turn around and beat the crap out of them.
Exactly. So what about the supply chain management? We've been, hearing lots of, the ports off of, LA, hundreds of ships that are not being able to unload and stuff. Have you noticed anything with the grocery store shelves being less, less food
Yeah.
there or less stuff? Like, have you noticed a difference
Oh
on?
yeah, it's very noticeable here. I've talked to grocery managers to see gauge what they're experiencing, and they're having a hard time even getting Lunchables in the store. They're having a hard time getting all kinds of things that would be normally easy to get, and so it's definitely affecting us here. And Las Vegas, unfortunately for us, is going to be a very dangerous place for anybody to live in if it goes dark or we, run out of food, because this community it's built on unnatural premise that this was not a place that would sustain life normally, not a human life. So if we don't have power and water and food here, we're doomed. There's no way to grow. There's no farms out here growing food. You can't grow food in Las Vegas. It's so hot. It's like 120 degrees. Everything shrivels up and dies in a week. There's no real water here. Where are we going to get our water from? We already have water issues, right? And if you don't have power to cool the house off in the summertime, everybody's going to crisp up and dry out. It's not a good place to be if we go off grid, not like some other more natural environments.
So is there lots of sunny days, or are you guys chemtrailed where there's clouds all the time like a lot of other places?
Well, it's almost always sunny here, but that's even with chemtrails. When we get chemtrails, it's like a pure sunny sky with crisscross. They're so bold that it's a chemtrail. You can't deny it because we don't normally have clouds here. So when it's a cloud, it's a chemtrail. Where are the clouds going to come from in Las Vegas?
Is there lots of solar farms? Is there lots of, solar greenhouses? Because, part of the things that, I've thought about is some of these hot desert places that are uninhabitable. If you actually filled them with greenhouses, you can control the environment. You could get the energy from the sun in order to provide the energy that it needed to cool it down inside, or to get things running. So have you noticed that there's a lot of greenhouses there, or
No, I don't personally know. And I've done real estate for 20 years out here before I went into the ascension journey. So I've really not been aware of a lot of those. There's a couple organic farms that are way outside of Vegas. There's a handful of little places like that. There's a huge solar farm, but it's owned and controlled by the power plant. So they're just harvesting the sun's energy and then selling it to the people. It's not being used for the people, at least in terms of for their benefit. And I'm not aware of any other, type of movement like that where people are doing anything for the good of humanity here that I'm aware of on a large scale like that.
So, real estate, JK has a question here about, have you seen what Atari is building in Vegas?
My cousin told me a little something about it, but I haven't seen it. I'd like to see it. I haven't seen it. I think my cousin briefly mentioned it to me.
Is your governor a Democrat or Republican?
He's a Democrat, and you do realize this is Vegas, and the mob runs Vegas still. They run Vegas. They run the HOAs out here. They run a lot of things out here still, and he's very. You can't even buy a cab company out here, no matter how rich you are, unless you get medallions handed to you.
What's medallions?
It's through the mob. You're not gonna. It doesn't matter how you could be Bill Gates and come here and try to buy a company, a cab company. Will not happen unless you have those medallions handed to you. That's how this city is run still, believe it or not. So he's not a great guy. This Sisolak is his name. He's not a good. He's serving the draconians basically.
So he's part of the mobsters.
You can smell it on his skin.
Yeah, so a lot of people, don't know, but these mobsters that run Vegas, they ended up infiltrating all of government, and they are in both sides. So, Vegas, maybe you can see it, more prevalent, but this is what the whole government, the whole system is run by these, these really bad
Mhm.
entities. They figured out they were getting attacked by the government, so they just went and took out and infiltrated, put all their
They
people in
bonded.
all
They
they
joined forces.
put all their people into all the government positions on
Yeah,
the Democrats and Republicans, so that way, they own, all sides, and now they own the
yeah.
courts and the judges. And what about Freemasonry? How do you see much of that there? And anything about secret societies there?
Oh yeah, we've got the Bohemian Grove. We've got the whole got the Bohemian Grove out here, which is where the Mandalay Bay shooting happened a couple of years ago. That was a ritual. That was a Luciferian ritual, a harvesting ritual that was done here. And of course the Illuminati's here. Of course they've got infiltration in our city here. They own everything. They this is just a branch of it, just like the Utahns or the Mormons are a branch of the Illuminati. They're 33rd degree Masons. They openly admit it because they think that the people are too stupid to understand what that means.
Wow, so they're infiltrated everywhere. They're, running businesses, they're running government. So what, chance do the people have to stopping, this matrix from, basically destroying everything?
Well, I mean, I think like a lot of people have said, the first thing we have to do is stop complying. We have to stop playing within their system. Get out of the matrix. How do you get out of the matrix? You really have to be brave because you have to be willing to pull the rug out from whatever job. You have to be willing to give up anything for your soul. And that's really how you're going to do it. You can't do it any other way. You can't do it by trying to play safe and make sure that your 501c's or your 401ks are together. You really have to decide, what are you fighting for? Because if you're holding on to those earthly things, you're going to suffer the earth. And I'm not saying that you need to throw all your money away and all that. I'm just saying that, you really need to decide how important it is to fight for your soul and for the collective, because we're in the fight of our life. And how you're going to get out of it is to quit playing in their system, quit falling for their fear tactics, quit agreeing to everything that they're telling you to do. Quit, just stop. Don't agree to it. Do not agree, and get together, band together.
Have you been to Mount Shasta, and have you seen any, paranormal or, kind of UFO activity, being out there?
I haven't gone to Mount Shasta, honestly, although when I had my spiritual awakening, I was very well aware of, and saw that I had lived in Lemuria back, in the early incarnation. Um, but I've seen a lot of other UFO activity in my own experience. I work with the galactics on a regular, so I'm aware that I'm a Pleiadian being. I've met the Pleiadians. I've had contactee experiences on multiple occasions over the years, and really developed a lot of bond there with guides, if you will.
So have you seen any actual UFOs? Have you been abducted or anything?
Well, I have not been abducted. I was taken off planet to meet the Pleiadians. I wouldn't call it an abduction. Um, I guess in a way, if I go back and look at my life when I was in the MK and Monarch mind control programs, in a certain way, I could have said that I was abducted at those times, because again, like your girlfriend, my being was somewhere else. Your consciousness gets fragmented, and but no, I haven't. And my understanding in terms of interdimensional beings, including spaceships, is that they don't necessarily show up the way that the humans expect them to, because they're interdimensional. Meaning that when I see a ship, it's cloaked. It's not coming through like a, big silver ship with a green Martian on it. It's interdimensional. It's I know that David Icke talks about this also, because when they show up, it's in essence, it's an energy that's in a different frequency. So you have to get your frequency on that level in order to see them. You're not going to see them from your third dimensional eyes.
Yeah, a lot of people see them cloaked inside of clouds and stuff.
Yeah.
So, the inside, so they're supposed to be kept as, under wraps, I guess, as much as
Yeah.
possible because of whatever, some agreement. So do you think that the world is flat, or do you think, we're floating a big ball of, hurtling through space around the sun?
I really have not delved into needing an answer on that, so I've never asked and delved into it. I don't have an opinion on that personally.
That's good, because it's so confusing, and there's both sides. There's equal good reasons to believe different things.
Yeah, I can speak from out of body experiences that I perceived the world as a ball, but that's from an out of body experience, and we perceive things in the spirit world maybe a little differently. I don't know, but I don't have an absolute definite need to be right or wrong on that subject, honestly.
We had someone here that teaches astral projection, and we got really deep into that. Is that something that you do at will, or is that something that just kind of happens?
Yes, I definitely do it at will. And it took a lot of practice to get there too, and a lot of energy healing. So I also teach astral projection, and I'm sure whoever that was knows that in order to astral project, you really do have to do your inner work and your shadow healing, because otherwise, if you're kind of wired in or plugged in to lower energies, it prevents you from being able to project out of your body. It's kind of like an anchor on your soul.
Do you delve much into the politics, and what's your thoughts on, say, Trump and the white hats and things like that? Is that really happening, or is that a psyop, or what's your thoughts?
I try to avoid politics at all costs because no matter which way you go, there's always going to be, problems and challenges. And however, I did do a video called Trump and Star Wars and the Great Awakening in regards to just recognizing the role that he's playing in this part of our journey as a collective. So all souls, like them or not, love them or hate them, Jeffrey Dahmer is still a part of God, right? And so when we can kind of step back from our personal biases or personal hatred or fueled triggered energy on people, where we could see things a little more clearly. And I can very much see the role that he's been playing and how it's affecting. I don't agree with everything that Trump's ever said or done, but I can see the positive role that he's played. And I can also see a few things that I personally don't resonate with. But then too, who am I to judge where he's at and what he's had to deal with? Nobody. I mean, I would never want to be in the role that he just played. I would never want to be in that position against all of those, creeps, because that couldn't have been fun for anybody. But I also believe that there's a huge force of white hats. I'm definitely, very well aware of the digital soldiers and the work that many digital soldiers around the globe are doing that is profound work. And they're never going to let up. And nobody is ever going to get away with what they're doing in the dark. It will never happen. There's a huge force there, an unseen force that is in the light, that is going to win. And I can see it every day. I see the things that are happening every day, and it's beautiful. It really is beautiful. It's painful that we have to go through so much to fight for our own freedom, but if we don't fight for it now, we'll lose it. And what world will we leave behind for our children? We cannot afford to even think that way.
So you do notice a shift in a positive direction, even though things are a little insane right now?
Yeah, I definitely do. In fact, Virginia won the other day it went from blue to red, which was supposedly going to be a big move because that was going to affect how other states were going to go. So there's been a lot of those kind of things happening. The judge and Kyle Rittenberg, you remember the boy that shot the other guy in the riots last year, the little 16-year-old, and he got arrested for it and prosecuted and all that. The judge in that case is not allowing them to say that those people are victims. He's calling them rioters so that we can remember that that boy was defending his community from rioters that were assaulting them. So that's a huge move. That's a big move. There's people stepping out of jobs. There's people stepping out of their positions in political positions. And it's only just beginning. There's a lot of people coming up and talking. It's happening. We're puncturing holes. It's like this big, dark, heavy blanket got put on us in the Matrix. It was a blanket over humanity, and we've had to kind of duke our way out of it. But we are puncturing holes, and so we're going to win. At the end of the day, the light wins. And don't you ever hold any other vibration in your being than that. Because you manifest what you hold, right? We are going to win. That is going to happen.
And today is actually a pretty big manifestation day. So
yeah, own it, man. Own it.
What's your thoughts on opening the third eye, and can it potentially be dangerous for some people if they're not doing it correctly?
Well, I don't like to project fear onto people about something like that because it's a really sacred, beautiful experience. But I also can understand where others have come from when they talk about some of the dangers there. When you open your third eye, you get exposed to a lot of astral entities and beings, and not all of them, again, are benevolent. So if you're going to do it, I would strongly recommend that you first pray and do protection on your aura and ask for guidance from source. But I wouldn't go into it with fear. If you go into it with fear, you're attracting fearful things. Don't do that. Just go into it with love, knowing that you're loved. And is it dangerous? Well, it's a natural part of your being. And the truth is that you have spirit guides that will prevent you from even having that experience if they know that your psyche's not ready to see what you're going to see. That's why a lot of people still don't have their third eye open. They are not ready for it. They're with gifts like that comes a great responsibility also.
Could you say, would it be fair to say that it might be dangerous not to want to open up your third eye?
Would it be dangerous not to want to? Yeah, it would be dangerous not to want to, because the more that you don't want to open it, the less that you're tuning into your divine self. Your third eye gives you access to your God self. And again, it also comes with responsibility, and it doesn't happen for people if their soul isn't prepared. So you got to do your soul work. You got to do your energy work, your shadow healing, all of those things. That's what helps you to prepare yourself so that when you do access it, you are ready. It's an evolution. Your body, your soul body is made like a totem. And so you're going to grow through things so that when you get there, you're ready for it. It happens naturally, but you can speed it up through energy work, spiritual work, and healing things, and right diet, and all of that, prayer and meditation.
Well, that was my next question. What would you tell someone that say, hey, I think I want to, work on opening up my third eye? What would you say is some things that I could do besides, obviously you just kind of mentioned a few things there.
Well, if you've already done prayer, meditation, diet, fasting, I really recommend fasting because it's so powerful. Just water fasting and praying and meditating are really the keys to it if you're devoted. If you want to get quantum healing and you want to get into deep layers of shadow aspects or heavy energies that are lodged in your light body, get a session, because I can see where you have lodged energy and pluck it out of you. and show you what it is, so you understand why it was lodged in you, so that you don't do that to yourself again, because you didn't know that you did it to yourself, right? And so that working with a healer can certainly help you with things like that if they know what they're doing. But otherwise, prayer, meditation, fasting, those are, any healer, any spiritual person will always tell you those three things, because they really do work. And also you need to be honest with yourself and go through your consciousness and figure out where you have BS to clean up. Did you murder somebody? Did you lie to somebody? It's a conscious kingdom there. And all deeds done in the dark will be revealed. So you must first face your own darkness.
So what about the calcification, all the stuff that they've been doing with the fluoride, with, things that, they've really done to, stop us from accessing it? Is there, things that like sometimes people need to decalcify before they can actually open it up?
Well, that certainly also plays a role in dumbing people down or preventing them from functioning. It's a gland that needs to be functioning properly. But again, even if you've decalcified your gland and you don't have your energy right, your third eye won't open. It's a spiritual thing, and at the end of the day, the spirit world handles all things, and you can't fool the gods. So if you're not ready spiritually, the gods don't let you, access certain things. Some things are very holy. It's kind of like going to your mother's living room and having this beautiful white brand new carpet, and you got mud all over your shoes, and she's not going to let you in. You're not coming in till you clean that up. Why would she do that? So we do, as souls individually, need to clean up our energy before we're allowed and granted access to higher dimensions. That's the deal. No cheating.
Have you heard about Dark Winter? Is that this winter? And what do you see in our future for 2022?
I have heard of Dark Winter. It is this winter. At least this is the beginning of it, and hopefully the end. And I do believe that everybody does need to be prepared for that by buying food and preparing yourself with water, food, batteries, light, flashlights, candles, radios, connection to one another. It's really just important that you already have that as a backup plan, so you don't have to worry, right? Once you do that and you put it in the corner or in your garage, and you know that it's there, then you don't have to think about it very much anymore, right? And then you can focus on other things. But it would be very wise for everybody to do that, and to have a little bit of cash put away, maybe get some silver, those kind of things. It's not going to hurt you, because those things always have value. And if in 10 years from now the light completely wins and we got everybody in prison for doing the bad deeds they've done, then all that food can get put in homeless shelters or whatever, right? It won't go to waste. So it's just a good idea to do that. And where do I see 2022 is I just see us continuing this battle, and I also see the light having more momentum than it has in the last few years. It's already, the tables are turning. The shift is happening. So it will get better, but not overnight, and it will take a lot of work from everybody.
Definitely some growing pains.
Yeah.
John says his wife met Osiris opening her third eye. Is he good? And would that be a good experience that she had?
Well, why are you asking me? Shouldn't she be able to determine that for her own self? At the end of the day, part of ascension and coming into consciousness is to really learn to trust your own judgment and experiences. And so if she felt that it was a good experience, then it was a good experience. And, I've met and battled draconian beings that were very, very, very unpleasant beings, And even afterwards, I still recognized that that was a part of my journey that needed to happen. And that, it was a part of my soul journey. They even belong to the divine. So, in the highest realms, everything works out. It's just, you got to fight for what's right and do what's right and stay with your soul and understand there are forces that are trying to take you away from your soul. And so that's if she had an experience like that, that's what I would look for, is how did it feel. There's an impression that happens with the soul, and people can smile at you and look so cute and be the most perfect little human being on the planet, and inside be a demon. And you've got to be able to notice the feeling of what's going on there. They might have demons that are running them or ruling them, or some kind of energy that's very bad, but they look nice and cute, and you've got to be able to discern from that. So, but that's an individual thing. So I wasn't there meeting Osiris with her, so I can't tell you what.
My first DMT experience was in Thailand about 4 years ago, and I saw some Egyptian goddesses that were like beautiful and seductive, but they had snake tongues, and I didn't want to look at them. I felt like it was like a negative trying to pull me into this energy that I didn't want to be, and it was very like seductive, the music,
Yeah,
and it was pulling me in, but it was almost like one of those Medusa things that I didn't want to look, because I didn't want to be like put into stone. So um,
smart.
I I actually, it happened 2 times in a week, or like 4 days. I went on 2 trips, and the exact same thing happened both times. And it was just the first part of the experience, and then after, everything went all colors and lights, and everything was fine. But it was pretty intense, because it just felt like something was trying to pull me into them, and I didn't want to go, so I didn't look at them.
Very smart, actually. I ended up in part of my journey having two different exorcisms from energies like that. So it kind of like lustful beings that try to lure you into dark things. And I could go into whole other shows on those experiences, but that it was some gnarly stuff. Seeing demons that had been feeding on me, it was very, very, very intense. So I've gone through a lot of things in my own journey, and I'm sure that you have too, it sounds like. So it sure polishes you, doesn't it? And makes you not want to do anything like that again. That's why I was saying, once you learn a lesson, you don't want to go there. And it's not in judgment of somebody else. It's just, no, I learned that lesson. I don't do that.
Well, someone asked me, recently, maybe a few months ago, and they said that they wanted to go on their first, DMT trip, and what my thoughts were. And what I said is, and they said is, is there entities that can, come in? And I said, if you're not in a good, balanced place, it's probably not the best idea to do it, because, it can mess you up. And, there are entities, like you said, out there that, if you're in a weakened state, and they see that as an opportunity to
Yeah.
attach to you, attach to your thoughts, attached, and all of a sudden now, your whole world can be altered, just because you wanted to experience something that you weren't ready for.
Yeah, I have a client that just told me this about a month ago, that she did an ayahuasca trip. And because she wasn't quite right in her energy at all and didn't have any guidance on how to get her energy right, she did this ayahuasca and ended up in a mental hospital for several years. It can open you to negative entities, because you're already open, because your aura has cracks in it. And you're already in a susceptible position, and now you're opening yourself to that without having the healing. It's not recommended at all. I really try to, I'm not against psychedelics or anything like that, but I really try to make sure that people first are balanced in themselves, because I have multiple times I've known people that have even taken mushrooms and had a Kundalini activation, but it was only like a partial Kundalini activation, and they have demonic attachments, and they call themselves an ascension guide. And it's really quite scary, because I can see the entity that's there, and it's really scary. So I would be very careful with that. And like you said, like you suggested, that you don't want to do it when you're not already balanced in yourself enough to be able to handle things.
So would that be your advice then for anybody that are wanting to, do psychedelics, like to try to, balance themselves, or trying to, because people are looking for purpose, people are looking for understanding, people are still not in their right place. So, would be advisable for them to avoid psychedelics until they got themselves, figured themselves out more before they wanted to try to experience something like this?
I would totally say that. I would say first, let's get you through some of the shadow healing and get you through some, some of your heavier traumas and those kind of things, and heal your mind a little bit, and that before you take some psychedelics. It can be dangerous. It really can be. And I'm not against it. I was a 14-year-old dropping acid and doing all kinds of things that I shouldn't have been doing, mushrooms and you name it. And so I was the queen of psychedelics back then. And I even smoked pot for up until I was 18. And then I started to have entity attachment from it. And I started to become like a paranoid schizophrenic over it. And I had to stop because it was opening me to things because I myself wasn't healed. So I have personal experience on this, but I would definitely recommend, doing the spiritual work. And why is everybody doing that and not praying? What's wrong with prayer? Why don't you pray instead? Keep it simple and pure, because that's your true nature. It's Ascension's about bringing you back into your purity and your divinity, and bringing you back into your childlike state. And children don't need drugs to feel good. And when you have to do that, there's something not quite right. And I don't want to poo-poo on everybody that does it, but I'm just saying, because I don't want to be that judgmental. But the truth is that our true soul nature is to be childlike. You can just wake up and be happy and choose to be happy, and wake up and make a fun day out of having a little bit of tea or some juice or a piece of fruit. Like, all of a sudden, it's so beautiful when you start to realize that God and Mother Nature already gave us everything we need, and everything's a gift and it's beautiful. Why do you need a drug? It's already magical. You're just looking at it with the wrong eyes.
You're completely right about the prayer, and I believe meditation. If you can just quiet the mind and allow the magic and the wonder to actually be able to flow through you, to get messages from, our creator or source, get the messages, because I believe we're getting messages all the time. Just most people are too into themselves to actually, be able to open themselves up to be able to listen to them.
Yeah, the monkey mind's harassing you. It's going yep, 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 yep all day long, and you don't know how to silence it so you can hear the soul's voice. And I guess I would tell people that with that, to practice getting peace, because when you're not in peace, this is why they use fear to get you. When you don't have peace in your heart, your monkey mind's there. As soon as they take you out of peace, then the ego mind becomes there, and that's where they can get you and get a hold of you. And if you can keep your peace, you're able to hear your spirit's voice more. The spirit's voice is a whisperer, and the devil's voice is a loud, yapping monkey voice in your mind. So if you want to hear the spirit, you got to get peaceful so you can hear that peaceful voice.
Well, when I got stabbed 12 times, and I had to walk to get help, because this was before like the cell phone days, and we didn't have a house phone, and it was probably like 2 or 3 a.m. and I walked up the stairs of the apartment building. We were in the basement suite, and as soon as I got to the top of the stairs, everything went white light. Like, it was light. I couldn't see anything, but I kept on going through the glass doors. And once I got to the other side, I fell down the stairs because I couldn't obviously see the stairs. And when I hit the ground, everything went pitch black, and it was dark. And it was for the first time I actually felt like a little bit afraid. And then I heard this voice that said, "Get up or you're going to die, Jesse." And I was like, all of a sudden I could, like, I just felt like I had this power inside of me, and I started to be able to see, and things started to be, more clear. And I started walking away, and then the girl that I protected, she was holding the glass door so she didn't get locked out of the apartment building instead of coming with me to get help. And I remember I heard her crying, And then I just told myself, Jesse, you got to tell one last girl you love them just in case you leave. And so I turned around and I said, I love you, Kim. And she's like, I love you too. Just don't bring the police here, okay? And I was like, and so, but for me, it was what I needed to hear, because the whole time I just focused on what a bitch she was. I'm like, I can't believe that she said that. I can't believe that. And the whole time I'm not thinking about my lungs filling up with blood. I'm not
Mhm.
thinking about, what had just happened. I was like angry that she at her, and that she didn't come with me. And that was kind of like what kept me kind of, just, focused on that instead of, focusing on what was actually happening with my body.
Wow, you're a miracle. You're a walking miracle. I couldn't even imagine what it would feel like to get stabbed once, let alone 12 times. It's incredible. Hopefully those guys went to jail, did they?
I don't know. It was in a different city, and I just ended up leaving and stuff. So I would wanted nothing to do with them or the gangsters or even her, because of, her not even, after what I did to help her, she didn't even
Right.
want to come with me to get help. She was more worried about not getting locked out of the apartment than, actually, I know me,
Disgusting.
I had to go by myself to get myself help. But I just kept my wits about me. And even when the ambulance came, they were like telling me to like stop. They're like, because as soon as I heard them pull the gurney out, I just walked straight to the thing. And and I had also had a bottle smashed over my head, which gave me
Oh.
like, which I think I had like 26 stitches in my head.
Mhm.
And so my whole head was all full of blood and everything, so I looked like kind of a walking zombie. and uh
Wow.
and when the gurney came out, I heard it, and then I had a guy who was holding like Kleenexes on my stab wounds and stuff, and I just looked at him and I said, thanks, man. And forever I send this guy beautiful energy of, just randomly helping some stranger. And the ambulance, they were saying, stop, like, we'll come to you. And I just wanted to get to the hospital, so I just walked up, took off all my clothes, hopped up on the stretcher and said, let's go. And it's like the whole time just stood still, because they were like what just happened here, because it didn't look like I should have been in the state that I was, but I just wanted to get to the hospital and get fixed.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm so glad you're here. Look at what you're doing now. You're helping so many people. That is so awesome.
Just trying to do my little part. And
Yeah.
so life is good. So what anything else that you wanted to mention or chat about? Any other questions? What's your thought on the 144,000?
Oh, well, that's I guess I could answer it in a couple different ways, but the 144,000th, as I understand it, is nadis or light centers within your body that get activated when you're fully enlightened. So as the soul goes through its own journey and becomes activated in light body, the light body becomes activated when all those nadis are activated, and there's 144,000th of them. There's also 144,000 petals in your crown chakra, that when your crown chakra opens, you receive the wisdom or the eye of Ra. And the 144,000, a lot of people are seeing it as souls that are chosen or selected by the divine. And so I don't believe that that's an exact number of people. I just believe that it's an activation that happens within you, and you do get chosen once you're open, you're activated. But it's not so much that it's special people as it is a level of evolution in the soul.
So say a billion people activated, a billion people could have that 144,000 crown open up. So the billion people are part of the 144,000.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So here's from Pierce Love. What were the draconian beings like that you mentioned, and were they in this 3D realm?
Well, one, they smell like death and sewer, and they're hideous, and they burn like acid. And they are interdimensional beings, just like ghosts or other interdimensional beings. You don't see them, like green guys coming through. They're huge. They're like 18 feet tall. The one I saw was about 18 feet tall, and I was the first one that I saw. I was groomed for it. You know, again, this is why a lot of people don't get shown these things. The psyche's not ready for it. So everybody wants to open their third eye, but a lot of them really don't have the spiritual maturity to be able to handle what's there. They are definitely humongous, and they're not nice. They also do a lot of things on the earth plane to control humans. They really feed and harvest on humans, at least the non-benevolent ones do. And they do a lot of things related to addiction and other things. And you will not notice that they have control over you until you fight through it on a soul level, which is why ascension is so vital for everybody. I was unaware that this draconian being had been feeding on me for over 30 years until I became aware of it through my ascension work. I was not aware of it until I was aware of it, like all things, right? Because again, this is a conscious kingdom, and the more that we go through ascension, the more it becomes, we become aware of things and we get shown things. And so, again, as I said in the early question that you asked me, how many people are having attachments and don't know? Well, almost all of them. You know, there's a very small handful of beings, ascended beings, that have become, you know, clear of these types of entities and that are truly on the Christic path and are sovereign beings. And even then, we're combating things from every angle. So they're very smelly. You will feel the energy and you'll smell. I smelled death, pure death and sewage, and they burn like acid. I feel them on my skin right now with all of the violence that's in the air in our world right now. So I can feel their presence very, very strongly on the earth plane at this time, because my skin burns. I can tell that they're around right now, and they're very active in what's going on, and they're very much trying to fight. And so you may, if you tune into yourself well enough, you may feel that stinging kind of burn when you feel that on your skin. Most likely it could be from them.
So a lot of people are getting energetically attacked right now, whether it's through the frequencies, whether it's through maybe these entities, a lot of, sicknesses, a lot of blood clotting, a lot of different things. What do you see happening, right now with all the people that are very affected, sensitive and getting affected by different things right now?
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I was going to do a video on that, but I think this will be sufficient and I can share it to my people too. But number one, everybody needs to understand that we are in war right now. We are in a war, not just a spiritual war. We are being attacked by biological warfare. The entire planet has been attacked by biological warfare. We're dealing with psychological warfare. We're dealing, and this is causing trauma to the souls, to everybody. Everybody is experiencing warfare that is causing trauma right now. You're feeling it in your being. And, it's causing people to be hypersensitive, if you will, or to be, really agitated or scared, or you never know who's coming to attack you, or you don't know if you're going to, this is what psychological warfare is. And so you need to be easy with yourself and with everybody at this time, because, this is an unfathomable experience that the whole planet's going through. And when you're under that kind of psychological warfare, it puts you on the defense. It also is a form of trauma that can trigger maybe, PTSD or other types of symptoms that you may not even realize you experienced this in a past life, and it's triggering you. And so, you got to be easy with yourself, and then you got to hold space for the others that are maybe not necessarily behaving the nicest, because they're also under pressure. They don't know if they're ready to commit suicide, or they think they're going to have to rob a store to feed their kids. And there's so much going on right now that everybody just needs to really hone in. This is a master's program. It's going to require you to master your own self and your own energy, and to stay in a loving, peaceful vibration. And remember that everybody around you is suffering right now. Psychologically, emotionally, physically. They're losing their family members. They're losing their jobs. You don't know what people are going through. This is a horrendous situation globally. So you've got to be able to really, balance yourself and try the best you can to be loving to everybody else, even when they're acting out through their own traumas or their own triggering. It's really important.
Great advice. And, I have to, take some of that advice as well, because being in the public eye for a long time, I've been attacked a lot, and, for different, reasons and things. And, they come from, sometimes people that, you built relationships with and friendships with, and all of a sudden they just flip, and I call them flippers. And, they, all of a sudden, and now they're attacking, and they're saying these, horrible things. And, for me, I just choose to block them out and not, get these attacks. But, what you're saying is that everybody's going through, so much right now that, to have some grace for people and maybe try to like figure out the attacks more than just, blocking them out and just not absorbing that energy right now, especially with, everything that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, either way, whichever way you need to do it is fine. If you block them to protect your own energy, that's also fine. Because if you're getting attacked by people while you're trying to hold your loving vibration, that's going to affect you. That is going to affect everybody else you touch. So there's a quote in the Bible where it talks about kind of cutting out the cancer. You kind of have to cut out the people that are real negative out of your life so it doesn't taint you, because if you become tainted, then look at all the people you influence, you're going to taint them. So I'm not against blocking people when they need it, but I am saying that if we can hold space for people and try to understand and try to heal and, the best we can. When you're in the public like you and I are, it's harder because we're getting it all day long from all these different directions, and you're doing your soul work. So you don't have time to sit and tediously work everybody through their own emotional baggage. I don't. That's why I have sessions. I don't have time to do that one-on-one for every person that comes to me. Like, come on, like if I could do that all day long for free, I would, but I can't, So, but you're in the public, you're dealing with so much of it. You really do have to preserve your energy and protect it, as do I. But I'm just suggesting that as a collective, we do the best we can to just honor that everybody is being, your warfare does terrible things to people. Biological warfare and the fear of not your finances are under attack. You don't know where you're going to live anymore, how you're going to feed your kids. Everybody on this planet right now is under attack. And I'm sorry to put it this way, but it's true. And, and so when we can face that, then we can heal through it, right? We face it. We realize that that's what's going on. Now, how are we going to move through it? That's where our power is. And it's that's going to help us get through this. You got to know the game we're playing, first of all, and then you got to win it. Losing isn't even acceptable.
It's not an option. No. And that's why right now, to protect my energy when people become flippers, I just, I used to really delve into the psyche and really eloquently, tell them what I feel and what's going on, and get them to maybe understand a different point of view. But, I've kind of passed that point right now. And like when people become like that, I don't even respond. And, I just, basically it's like, not worth my time and energy and space, and putting me into a place where I'm not at my best, because now I'm having to deal with this attack. And then, like you said, then other people that, do get affected by, what's going on, then it actually, kind of, it's a disservice to them by, lowering myself to, a vibration that I shouldn't be at.
Right. And you can send them with love. They'll figure it out when they're ready to figure it out. We can't babysit one another. At the end of the day, we all have our role to play. I'm doing the best I can. You're doing the best you can. But we are not accountable for one another to babysit their behaviors. And when people aren't ready to own up to their own energy, then, and they're projecting that kind of negativity, you have to do what's best for you at the end of the day. And that's it's tragic that it has to be this way, but it's a process, and it's not the end of the story either.
Joyce says, what is your take on placing yourself in a Merkaba?
I love that question, Joyce, because I'm a Merkaba activator. And the Merkaba is the only way that you can get through ascension, and it has to be balanced properly, and it has to be healed properly, and that's part of those nadis and the energy centers. So if your Merkaba isn't functioning properly, which is really the problem for humanity, is they all misuse their Merkaba. So the Merkaba is a huge, important part of ascension.
Linda says, does Ellen believe the only way to survive is to get to a cave like some like to push?
No, I believe a lot of things, and I believe that anything's possible, and I believe that everything's divinely unfolding the way that it's meant to, and I don't believe that everybody should run and hide in a cave. I do like the idea of having some supplies put away, because I just think that's a smart and wise thing to do, but I don't live in fear, and I think you need to follow your own instinct. If your instinct tells you to go run and live in a cave, then do it. And if it tells you not to, then don't. But I'm not here to tell people what to do. I'm just here to help guide them to their own truth.
Do you think it's gotten much worse with people being injected and things like that? Like, do you think a lot of people are kind of confused? A lot of people are really, having a hard time trying to figure out what's going on after getting some of this stuff put into them?
I still think that it's a bit early to see the aftermath of what's going to happen to a lot of those souls, unfortunately. I know that a lot of them are getting maimed, and some of them are dying. And how that's going to affect their vessel or even open to any negative energies or anything like that, I don't think we've even got to see very far into that yet. I think we're in a very early stage still, and we haven't seen anything yet, unfortunately, as far as that goes. And give it a couple years, and there's going to be a lot of other unfortunate things that unfold.
Linda says, thank you, Ellen. She resonated with that. And no matter what happens here, life is eternal. So even
Yeah.
if it gets real bad, and even if, things get to the point where we all seem to pass on, more quickly than expected here, that was the journey. And stay strong. Don't live in fear. Enjoy your time while you're here. Connect with people the best you can while you're here, and enjoy this experience, because we don't know what's around the corner, but we can control our here and the now. So don't live in a box and afraid, and just experience this as best you can, because that's all we can really do to change the world around us.
Absolutely. And that was very well said. And I'd just like to add the last part on there to add on to what you said, is that even the souls who are passing over from the jab or from COVID chose to do that. Everything was written prior to coming to this earth plane. So they chose that role in this story for some divine reason. So, try to keep a more expanded consciousness on the subject, and it helps you keep your peace.
Here's a good one. Pierce Love says, I struggle with the new age aspect of all this. Anyone else?
New Age. What? This is a biblical story that's been around since the beginning of time. In fact, it was written pre-mortal, before any of us came to Earth. So I'm not sure what the New Age part is that he's talking about. Are you?
Well, it's the big push on new age, new cage. The new age is taking people away, giving people false hope, living in the
Oh,
love and the light. A lot of people are, anything that says new age is, it's, like tarot cards are new age. And,
okay.
that's this label that, a
I
lot of
see.
people have on this new age. So he says he's struggling with the
Yeah,
aspects of new age. So what's your thoughts on,
I see.
the term new age, and why people have got such negative vibrations when anybody even mentions that name?
I see where they're coming from there. Well, and I, in a way, can agree also, in that there are a lot of beings that are going into the whole tarot and crystals and this, that, and the other. And there's truth in all of those things, right? Crystals are living sentient beings. They have energies and gifts that they were divinely bestowed on them by Creator. And everything's energy. So energy can move through tarot cards. But I get what they're saying. And again, I would come back to what I said to them, that New Agers, if they're thinking that there's some new wisdom that's here, then they're kind of blindfolded, because the wisdom's always been here. It's been coded into our DNA. It's been written all over the planet. It's coded into the Bibles. It's coded into the different teachings and different cultures all around the world. And so the story's always been here for us to see. It's just, you know, you have to get yourself ready to see it, right? It was always here. I wouldn't say that there's anything New Age. I can agree that whole even term is also can have a discordant energy. And maybe that's part of it, is that, you know, anybody claiming to have some newfound wisdom, it's kind of a paradox, isn't it? It's like it's newfound to you, but it was always here. Maybe. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, John says New Age was placed as religion was.
Yeah, I can see that. And I can also see how it's misled a lot of souls. And I see a lot of, and I love the spiritual community, but I see a lot of young people, you know, in delusions in that New Age community. You know, they're young and partying and having sex with lots of people. And, you know, I'm spiritual, so let's go to bed, you know, kind of a thing. And they're totally misusing the true teachings. And, I can see how that is distorted by many, but, you know, again, everybody has to discern for themselves what resonates and what doesn't, and keep moving through it, because there's some nice things with the New Age, if you will, in the sense that a lot of us have kind of decoded, and so in decoding things, but then there's also discord. It's kind of like with the Q movement. You've got a lot of people that really are in the know, that are white hats, and then you have a lot of other young kids that really aren't in the know, but they're mimicking language, or they're saying things happened that really didn't happen, and they're creating a problem where it shouldn't be. So this is the matrix, and it's layer upon layer upon layer. And so this is our work, is to kind of heal all those discordant energies in all the realms.
And I believe that you can use any modality for good or, you know, not good, right?
Yeah.
And there are people out there that, you know, take, you know, some of this power, when they have power over people, you know, whether or not they're a spiritual healer, or they're, you know, they've been given the gift of being able to know somebody. So then all of a sudden they know things about them. So now they've got kind of power over others, and then they use that for, you know, not so good things. And then, you know, it gives, you know, the whole kind of, you know, area a black cloud on it, because there are people that take advantage. But then I also see people on the other side that can take crystals, or that can take cards and just give beautiful messages, and messages of healing, and messages of hope. And, you know, for anyone that says, oh no, the cards are bad, it's only bad, but that's horseshit, because I've seen goodness come out of it. So, you know, to have that judgmental mind where, you know, if it's not in my box, then it must not be good. It must, you know, and a lot of people are stuck in that box, because this whole thing is about experience, and this whole reality we've come here to experience. And whatever that experience may take you, as long as it resonates with you, it puts you in a good place. It doesn't matter if you're doing meditation or yoga or cards, or, you know, reading the Bible every day. If it puts you into a good place, then that's where you're meant to be. And don't let other people's fears stop you from, you know, connecting or resonating with what makes you feel good.
Yeah, amen. I couldn't have said it better. You're totally right about that. And in a way, it's kind of like they're just projecting their fears because of their own distortion. At the end of the day, it really is a love thing. You're either loving one another, which means you got to learn how to love everybody, or you're not. And if you're not in alignment with God and Christ. Christ consciousness means love consciousness, means that you are living the footsteps of Christ, loving all beings. And the moment that you're judging them because they've used a crystal or a tarot card, or called themselves a psychic, I hate that name. I've got that in one of my pages and I can't change it, but it's the truth. Psychic just means you're aligned with Christ or God. It means you're getting your information from source. So it's your spiritual design when you really get in alignment. But anyway, judgments, right? Just get it. You can't love somebody and judge somebody at the same time.
Jesus came here to set us free from fear.
Yeah.
Came here to set us free from tyranny. Came here to set us free from the satanic government, from religion, to set us free. And then when people start to label and start to box people in and not allow them to freely experience this dimension, whatever that experience may be, now they're being anti-Christ. Now they're being away from the free, the love, because ultimately no one's here to judge anyone else.
Right.
You can guide, you can help, and so you can say things, hey, maybe that's maybe not in your best interest, but that's none of your business, because what people do while they're here, it's ultimately up to their own, unless they're harming the other people, animals, children, the environment. Then obviously you can speak up and say something, because that's your duty. But otherwise, just let people be and allow them to experience this dimension without having you to tell them what's right or wrong.
Right. Well, there's that, and there's also your ability to express your own self. And isn't that what we're all here really to do, is to be and express ourselves in our own unique ways? And so if you've experienced something like your near-death experience, you're expressing it to share with everybody else what you saw. Not that you're trying to tell them what they have to believe, but you're expressing your own reality, your own experience, in the hopes that maybe it will inspire somebody else or help them. Isn't that what we're here to do? I do believe that in some ways, when we're shown things, that we also have kind of an accountability or responsibility to help people. It's kind of like learning how bad smoking is for you, and you're not telling people that they can't smoke. You're just trying to help them understand that when you do that, it blocks your throat chakra and it causes, this and this and this to happen to your body. So at least when you're doing it, you're informed, because the Luciferians have created things in such a way where they're not giving you informed consent. And because of that, you can't even make a true conscious choice for yourself. So I do think that there's a two-way street on that subject,
So do you think there's a difference between Satanists and Luciferians?
That's a good question, actually. I've never really wrapped my mind around it, but my first instinct is to say yes, because Luciferians, in my understanding or awareness, would be like the Illuminatis that are truly doing black magic and trickery on the planet to cause people to make choices for themselves that they're that are from trickery, as opposed to a Satanist that would be understanding maybe the Merkaba, right? Satanists or whatnot can understand some of the occult type understandings and not necessarily be doing things that are harmful to humanity. That's my quick answer off the cuff.
Well, there's lots of different ways to interpret it, because the system that we're in is satanic. We're in a satanic system,
Yeah.
but then there's also people that I've met that are, proclaimed Satanists that are good people. They just believe in the Satan religion, and they say that some of this stuff is good. And then, same with, the Luciferians, the Lucifer, from we've done this other show, it's just the loose cipher. It's the ciphering of the code, and it's the loose cipher.
Yeah.
And it's supposedly the light bearer, the bringing of light, the bringing of knowledge. And then there's people out there that talk publicly, like Morg, that believe that Jesus was Lucifer, and it believes that they switched it up, that that actually it was switched backwards. So this is just a lot of people's different interpretations on what's going on. And what's the most important is, if you've got a good caring heart, you care about others, you're here to be a good example of what living is about. It doesn't matter what your beliefs are, but if you're using any of these things, and some people use Christianity and some people use religion as really horrible things, and do horrible things to people, and
Yeah.
use it to sleep with people, or use them to cast demons out of them when they don't have them, but because of their
Yeah.
fears. So you can use anything for the good or the bad. It's just right now these people that are controlling things, these Satanists or whatever they are, these draconians or the Khazarian mafia or whatever these people are, they're the ones who are stealing energy from people, and those obviously we don't want to emulate or be a part of that sick cult.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. I totally agree with everything that you just said there. And I do agree with those that are calling themselves Satanists in a way that they're understanding the occult, and there are spiritual truths even in the occult, because even Christ said that there's truth in all things. So if you're rejecting certain things, you might be missing a code, and some of those codes affect your activated nadis. You want those nadis activated, you got to have an open mind and really be able to explore things openly. Not that you have to believe it all, but that you have to explore it and allow your own instincts to tell you whether it resonates for your soul or not.
Do you know what a Levite is?
I want to say that I've heard that term from my dad's teachings of the scriptures, but I'm not sure.
I don't know. I've never really. I love every soul at a soul level, but I'm not loving certain people's behaviors, and that's
Yeah,
the whole
I
thing.
agree.
You can love people, but sometimes people do shitty things, and
Love the
just
sinner, hate the sin, right?
yeah. Thanks, Susan. She says white light around us
Oh,
both.
thank you.
Intentions are what it's all about. It's
Hmm.
your intention behind. Are you here to heal, or are you here to harm?
Yeah.
We're either here to love, or we're here to destroy. And
Yeah.
if you're living in a love vibration, it doesn't matter what you believe. It matters, well, how good you are in your heart, and what you're doing for the people around you to make this place better.
Yeah, I agree, and it comes to also growing out of that lower part of yourself and becoming a service to other person instead of a service to self person. So when you're in a service to self, mindset or energy, then you can't love others. You really have to grow out of that, evolve out of it, and realize that there's a bigger picture than just you. And when you do, it's a beautiful gift, isn't it? It's like you grow, and it's a struggle and a growing pain, and then you realize it actually becomes a blessing to become a service to other person. That's where the love really is. I was never feeling love until I became a giver of love. What's that song from Tesla? It's not what you get, it's what you give, right?
Mhm. So Angeline, my girlfriend, she says fear is what allows negative things to attach.
It's one of them for sure. Fear or
Uh,
faith.
the Levites are one of the 12 tribes, I guess.
Okay.
Levite, the family of Aaron. Yeah, I'm not well versed in the
I'm not
Bible, but
either.
Angeline, she read the Bible 5 times, and twice in its original text, and then studied cultures and languages
Oh,
around when it was
wow.
originally written. So that way she could, get out of the religion, because, they make you afraid. They make you,
Hmm.
if, you leave the religion, you're going to burn in hell. And if you don't follow our rules, you're going to burn. And,
Yeah.
lots of religions are like that. If you don't believe, then you're going to burn and you're a bad person. And
Yeah.
that's a bunch of fear tactic horseshit
Yeah.
nonsense.
I was raised Mormon. I had to go through a lot of that too. And I think the only thing that really saved me was having that near death experience, and then becoming so psychic as a child that it was just like there's two different worlds going on, and I had to trust the one that never failed me, which was not the human one. The spirit world never fails me. The human world fails me every time.
Well, that's what Angeline, when she figured out, was that God is love, and
Mm,
that the spirits out there, the energy out there, they're there to help you. They're there to give you, to give you assistance, to give you messages, to do that. And people have been taught to be afraid. People have
yeah,
taught that it's all negative out there and it's all dark, and if you hear or feel anything, but God is all around us. So if you
yeah,
truly believed in God and you truly believed in Jesus, you know that God is giving messages. Jesus is around giving messages to everyone. And so, just because they don't open up a book doesn't make them any less worthy than someone that
yeah.
buries their nose into a book every day.
Yeah, no, no, no. And ask and ye shall receive. Sometimes all you need to do is ask for guidance, protection, healing. Ask and trust that you'll receive it. It's that vibration of believing it to receive it. But if you ask first and then you really believe that you're going to receive it, you will receive it.
Not a spot where God is not. I love that,
That's
Linda.
cute.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
that
cute.
That's awesome. So, this was amazing.
Yeah,
This was a great time to just chat, to get to know
yeah,
you better. I'm sure there's a lot of people here that know you, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that, never, kind of knew who you were, and now they do. So, tell
yeah.
us about what you do, and, maybe, just share about, your website.
Okay. Yeah, the website's a little bit. We're working on rebuilding it right now, so it should be up and running in another week or two or three. As far as really being awesome and having lots of goodies there. For now, you can go on and sign up for to stay in touch, because I've dealt with a lot of censorship lately. Because obviously I've been speaking out for a lot of years, and so I'm on the radar. And I may even file litigation if I have to. I probably will, to my federal government, as well as because they're illegally paying these guys to do things. So, but anyway, off the subject. So what I do is I am again a twin flame and ascension guide. So I assist in alchemical marriage, and I'm obviously shamanic healer and a shadow healer. I do Akashic record readings, starseed origin readings, and obviously help with any aspect of ascension. And I'm a psychic medium, so anything related to those subjects.
And then how can they, learn more about you through the website, or like learn about your services?
Yeah, you can go to the website, and on the website you can also find the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel also has a lot of videos of good information. If you're in these subjects, you'll probably like some of them. You can go to the Psychic Ellen Red page on Facebook, and there's lots of links on the website that will lead you where you're going to go. There will be courses there, and hopefully a book coming out soon on the divine, counterparts. The twin flames is the subject that, yeah, I'm working on a book on right now, but the website has all those links.
And do they book you through, they contact you through the website? They do bookings, like
Yeah. Yeah,
some
just
of your.
yep, it'll give you my email, and you can just email me there and book a session.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for being a part of the Missing Link. It's love inspiring new knowledge. Everybody's got a new knowledge, different take, and missing links to, the world. You may resonate with, everything. You may not resonate with any of it, but, all I ask is everyone just be respectful, because, we are just, learning this together, and nobody has all the answers. And hence why we do what we do, because we're just trying to figure this out. And right now is the time that we need to have, grace for each other, and, really, connect with the ones you resonate, and just be respectful, and don't be horrible to the ones you don't.
Yeah, awesome. You're a beautiful soul, Jesse. It was a pleasure to come on today.
Well, thank you very much. And Wiggy says, what God wants, God gets. God help us all. Yes, brother, God help us all. Right now, we need so much. Thank you so much, Jesse, Angel, and Ellen. Learned a lot on this interview. Much love. Yeah, very, very, very informative. So, thanks for sharing us, open and candid here with us. And love, not pride. from Golden
Yeah.
Light beings. So true. God is love. He is a loving God. God is love. Like when people say I'm a God-fearing person, well, I don't fear God. I love God. You know, why would I love my creator? Why would I love my father? Why would I, fear my father? Why don't, it's about love and connecting and knowing that, we're meant to be here and we're meant to be going through this. And, sure, we may make mistakes, sure that there's bumps in the road, sure, maybe we may could have done things a little bit differently, but this is the journey. And just be proud and appreciate that we did have the ability to come here at this amazing crucial time and experience this all together.
Yes. Amen.
All right. Well, thanks for being a part of the Missing Link, and you have a wonderful, journey. And who knows? Maybe our paths will cross again.
All right. Sounds good. Take care, Jesse.
Okay.
See you
Bye,
around.
bye,
Bye.
Alan. Thanks, everybody. And next week on the Missing Link, we've got calendar here. We start off with Andrew Devine. He's, in Greece. He's a good friend of mine. He's going to be talking about, different things that are going on, legally, and, with, he knows a lot. He's originally from England, talking about the corporation. Then we've got the amazing